Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta, and we're joining you live from the CNN News 18 and Federal Bank Primetime Studio. The monsoon session of Parliament began today, and on day one of the session, Prime Minister Narendra Modi once again made it clear that all his government wants is debate but not disruption. The Prime Minister, while speaking about the inaugural Parliament session after general elections, slammed the opposition for even blocking out his voice for more than 2 hours during his speech. His main message is that elections are over and we need to move on. Remember, this session is as important as it gets. The new Modi government's first budget will be presented tomorrow and set the roadmap for the next 5 years. The opposition, however, maintains that the government is not responding or speaking on quote-unquote real issues like need, unemployment, price rise, etc. So is it fair that they are insisting on these debates first and foremost, even though there is slotted business? Or should debate on all issues, as and when they arise, happen along with important legislative work too? Is the government shying away from debate, or is the opposition still in election mode? We'll take that question to our guests in just a bit. First up, let's break down what the Prime Minister said in detail. Narendra Modi slammed the opposition for making repeated attempts to silence the elected government. He even went on to say that while speaking on the motion of thanks debate in Lok Sabha for 2.5 hours, an attempt was made to suppress the voice of the Prime Minister himself. He went on to accuse the opposition of hindering government's ability to fulfill its duties as it continued to disrupt House proceedings. Prime Minister accused the opposition of misleading the people during the election campaign and said that while they fought bitterly at that time, the campaign is over now and they must all work for the country. Taking a jibe, Prime Minister reminded MPs that it's their time to fight for the nation, not for a party. Prime Minister appealed to MPs that the nation needs progressive ideology and not negativity. Remember, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is all set to table the much-awaited budget tomorrow. But before that, the government tabled its economic survey, which suggested that the Indian economy is on a strong wicket and has solidified its post-COVID recovery. The survey also projected India to grow at a rate of 6.5 to 7%. Here are some other key highlights that are bound to be a matter of debate as this session progresses. First up, inflation rate is largely under control, says the survey, although rate of some specific food items is high. Youth unemployment rate decreased from 17.8% in 2017-18 to 10% in 2022-23, accompanied by a rise in youth participation in labour force. Weather-related challenges have impacted agricultural sector, leading to lower farm outputs and escalating food prices. The survey stated that the Indian economy needs to generate an average of nearly 78.5 lakh jobs annually until 2030 in the non-farm sector to cater to the rising workforce. The survey pointed out that India's banking and financial sectors have displayed a stellar performance in the financial year gone by in mobilizing funds to fuel economic growth with financial inclusion. The survey states, though, that the central government not only needs to come up with policy interventions to boost private capital expenditure, but that this will also need support from state governments. The economic survey says Manrega demand is not a true indicator of quote-unquote rural distress. Despite high rural unemployment, states like Bihar and UP utilized less of their Manrega funds than states with lower poverty levels such as Tamil Nadu and Kerala. The biggest battleground on economy has been job creation. The government has been very defensive on this. They've maintained that jobs are no more a concern now than they have always been. Now, this is the data of unemployment from CMIE. For most part of UPA years, it says unemployment rate hovered around 5.5%. The data says from there to now, the figures have risen to around 8% in 2020 and 9% plus in 2024. It is, of course, important to point out here that this is the CMI data and the government does not officially accept this data as accurate. But the big debate that's coming up is this. We're bound to have some debate on budget. Overall, though, is the opposition still making the mistake of being in election mode? So, instead of being constructive work in Parliament, is it becoming more disruption oriented? That's coming up with our guests.
ढाई घंटे तक देश के प्रधानमंत्री का गला घोंटने का, उनकी आवाज को रोकने का, उनकी आवाज को दबाने का। देशवासियों ने हमें यहां देश के लिए भेजा है, दल के लिए नहीं भेजा। उस सामर्थ्य को लेकर के जितनी लड़ाई लड़नी थी लड़ ली, लेकिन अब वो दौर समाप्त हुआ। ये बजट अमृत काल का एक महत्वपूर्ण बजट है। विकसित भारत का जो हमारा सपना है, उस सपने को पूरा करने की मजबूत नींव वाला बजट लेकर के हम कल देश के सामने आएंगे।
The Indian examination system is a fraud. That is what is at stake here.
आमदनी अठन्नी खर्चा रुपया हो गया है, हर चीज का दाम दुगना हो चुका है। केंद्र सरकार उसको कंट्रोल करने में नाकामयाब रही है।
Let's go across to our guest joining us. Gopal Agarwal is national spokesperson of the BJP. Arshpreet Kadial is joining us from the Congress party. I'm also joined by economists Sachin Sharma and Abhishek Rajaram. I do thank you all for your time. Let me begin with Arshpreet first. The Prime Minister is saying the elections are over, campaigning is over. It's time now to do what politicians or legislators are elected to do, which is focus on the matters that concern the country, but also get on with their work in Parliament. And disruption is only one of the means that the opposition may employ. The rest should be a healthy debate. Your first response on the fact that we saw in the last session, even the Prime Minister's speech being booed and sloganeered against throughout.
Thank you for the question, Shivani. Please allow me a minute and a half uninterrupted. First and foremost is that the message that has been given by Mr. Modi that we should put Desh before Dal, this should have been conveyed to the Bharatiya Janata Party's leadership first, because the Bharatiya Janata Party has still not come out of the election mode. We saw that the Trump ankle that the Bharatiya Janata Party drew, they're still in that mode. And number two is that the budget this time should not discriminate between BJP-ruled states and opposition-ruled states. We've all seen how the opposition-ruled states are subjected to stepmotherly treatment. And number three, the Bharatiya Janata Party ought to make sure that this budget of theirs is unlike the previous ones, which are high on rhetoric and low on substance. They ought to announce a legal guarantee for the MSP. They ought to announce a farm loan waiver, because if they can waive off 16 lakh crores of the corporates, they can definitely waive off much less of the farmers. And the reason as to why we are asking for this is because when Mr. Modi wasn't the Prime Minister, he was the Chief Minister. He had said it himself, MSP should be given as a legal guarantee. And after that, when the farm laws were withdrawn, where the BJP government made a U-turn on that, they apologized for that after 700 farmers were martyred. The BJP had made 6 promises to the farmers, which remain undelivered, because of which the farmers again had to go back on the street.
I'll come to the budget. I am yet to kickstart the budget section of it. But my question was, isn't the opposition running the risk of being in election mode, maybe buoyed by the election results a bit too much, where they feel that the message is to forever keep the country embroiled in that election mode? Maybe it's time to move on.
We have already moved out of the election mode. We are ensuring that the Bharatiya Janata Party gives priority to governance and not their government and not their politics, because we've all
But
seen
in that case, Arshpreet, you got to listen to the Prime Minister, no? Let's face it, he's not wrong when the Prime Minister says his entire speech for the motion of thanks was disrupted.
Well, the fact of the matter is, Shivani, that back-to-back terror attacks are happening, but Mr. Modi hasn't uttered a word about Jammu and Kashmir. back-to-back incidents are happening of violence in Manipur, in Tripura. Despite that, Mr. Modi hasn't uttered a word. And we have all witnessed how the Bharatiya Janata Party's government has been indulging in propaganda. The Trump angle is one, the Maratha reservation
All of
is
that
second.
happened after his
I mean,
speech that I'm referring to. But
if I just say one,
my point is that while the Prime Minister is speaking, if he's going to be drowned out like we saw that he was, there is of course a risk that the opposition is running that, you know, even the points, legitimate points that you are wanting to raise, people might get a little cheesed off with it. But anyways, I will give Gopal Agarwal an opportunity to respond to what Arshpreet is saying. And overall what the opposition says, that we've heard a lot of this, of what this government is doing, of what the vision is for far too long. We want some specific answers now, and those are not forthcoming from the government, let alone the Prime Minister.
Shivani ji, we have to understand that what is democracy. It is, you have to give a chance for other party to speak out their mind and their action. You cannot say ki what the other person in democracy means, what you want him to say, he should say that. If the Prime Minister has spoken on several issues, you may not agree with him, but you have to listen to him. And that too on the floor of the House. If you are not able to even have that patience just to listen to the Prime Minister, then itself it shows that your respect for democracy, one thing. Second thing is, the government, people have given a mandate to the BJP and NDA to govern for the third time. It is what the government wants to do. It is our agenda, what we expect, what we have said in our manifesto, what we think, what the people have given us the mandate to govern for, that we will implement. They can question it, but they will have to work through the democratic process. And what Prime Minister in today's morning lecture has very well said is, let us forget that and move towards building a strong economy, building a strong nation, building a strong leadership of India across the globe. Let us come out with a unified stand at least at the international platforms.
Okay.
That is basically expected in democracy. We may agree, at point we may have to agree to disagree, but that has to be also in a democratic process, which opposition in the last session did not show. They have to accept that the Prime Minister first responsibility to implement what we think has been given the mandate by the people.
Yeah, I think that whole discussion over what the mandate means now needs to rest. We've got to move on. There is an elected government. That elected government has to be able to deliver what it promised to the public. And I'm not sure, this is a larger debate that I don't have time for today. Does the opposition have a veto necessarily on what the government is doing or wanting to do? I don't think that's what parliamentary democracy is.
It is not
The
only
opposition
the on what to do, even to speak also they are saying Prime Minister should speak what we want him to speak on.
and at the time that they want. So, you know, that's a larger debate that we'll wait and see how this session progresses. But on the budget itself, let me go across to some of our specialists first, and I'll come back to our political guests. Abhishek, I'm coming to you first up. The biggest battleground, as I said earlier in the show, has been job creation, or quote-unquote jobless growth, or just how many jobs we're creating, or the unemployment data. On this, the government says that actually the picture is better than what some agencies may portray. What's your thought on that, and also what the economic service says on this today?
Good evening, everyone. So, what about the numbers? So, the government is in complete denial of the independent agencies, what they are saying. Now, if the independent agencies are saying it was 5%, now it is 8%, so the government wants to deny, they should come with their own numbers.
The government says that this data is not correct, or doesn't even have the correct statistics to make these assumptions.
See, this data was correct till 2014. There was no challenge. And what has happened in 2009 to 2014, when BJP was in opposition, everyone has seen that Parliament didn't function. They didn't allow it to function. And that time these data were correct. So these data were correct in 2014. Today, these data are not correct. Agree. There could be a possibility that these data are not correct. So they should come with their own data.
Where is the
Who is
alternative
stopping
data
from-
then? Yes. So the alternative
So
data that the government points out to is like employment fund, new accounts and things like that. What do you make of the, forget about, whose numbers may be correct. What do you make of the overall job scenario in the country? Is that the biggest challenge today?
See, recently we had seen many videos where for single job, for 10 jobs, for 100 jobs, thousands of people have gone. Plus, whenever there is a job opening by government job opening, we see lakhs and lakhs of students going for, or job aspirants going for creating ruckus in railway and buses and transport fails. So something which we say प्रत्यक्ष को प्रमाण की आवश्यकता नहीं, which is obvious. You don't require a database or you don't require a data. It is obvious that unemployment is gradually increasing. Plus, government has stopped creating new jobs. Plus, there has been no PSU, which has come in last 10, 15 years. There is no bigger opening in jobs. So, job market has reached a saturation point.
Okay.
We need government focus for manufacturing and service sector. See, government has said in last 5 years, government has been saying that we are going to focus on manufacturing. And they had said that we will come with Make in India projects, we will come with Assemble in India, but that has to be done on a broader level. See, government focus on papers is on job creation. The actual result
Is not
varies
quite
with
there.
the
Okay.
vision.
So despite the PLIs and the others, the actual result is not desirable just yet. Sachin, you want to respond to that? Is it, it's interesting he's saying that when you can see certain realities around you, you don't really need data to prove your point. And then, of course, about larger focus on job creation in the manufacturing sector. Now, the government has for long been saying, look at our capex or what we have done. Is it a problem particularly of jobs alone or of quality jobs? That's the second question that is asked. Your take on the job scenario today?
Thank you for having me on the show, Shivani. First thing, I think it's important to understand whether we are talking about the government jobs or we are talking about
private jobs.
corporate jobs in general. When we get into all these kind of debates, I think most of the time the opposition's focus is by and large to target the government on creation of jobs on the government side of it. Now, it's very well important to understand for everybody that government cannot give job to 4.5 crore people who are passing out their higher education in the country, right? So the government is, and my view is very candid on this, that somewhere the government has introduced 1.25 lakh startups in the ecosystem under various policies that the government has framed. Now, these startups are providing a lot of job opportunities to people within the startup ecosystem. Now, the challenge is, which we need to understand, or rather, I would say that the government also has to look at this. You see, when we say unemployment, what we are saying is that technology is by and large taking over the normal environment. Now, when the technology is taking the job situations, it's just not a scenario that there is no jobs. The jobs of people who are not technologically skilled are actually losing the jobs. But at the same time, all the deep tech technologies, new technologies, they're also coming with new job opportunities. So if you look at all these sectors, aerospace, automobile sector, government, very recently PM spoke about global capability centers to be the focus during one of the election rallies. Now imagine if people are technically qualified, because India is no more seen as a nation which is cost, cost focused or cost evasive nation. Today, we are looked upon as a country which has a larger ecosystem of the startups. We are seen as a technology nation. We are seen as a nation who largely invests on the innovation, research, development. So the government is by and large focusing on building the GCC networks in India, which is $120 billion market.
No,
And
all of that
imagine-
is fine. I don't think the question is whether the government is doing that or not. The question is that there is one India, which is this highly skilled India, which is creating these jobs or need these jobs. There's another India which doesn't have enough jobs. And there is a skill gap that the industry also keeps talking about. Maybe that's where the concern is. And is that concern legitimate, Sachin?
I think I would say 50% it is, because the government has a very strong focus on the skill development side of it, right? I mean, if you go to Northeast, you see a lot of skill development programs going on. If you go to the Uttar Pradesh, you will see a lot of skill development programs going on. There are NGOs who are being engaged in building these programs. Now, we have to also be very honest that if a person doesn't even know how to appear in an interview, right, that person will definitely not get a job. So I think it is also responsibility of the citizens to keep upgrading themselves on different knowledges and different skill set to be able to get jobs. That's my.
I agree with you on one thing, at least, that it is no longer, I don't think the government has shied away from this fact that it is no longer the government's job to give you a job. In the sense, aspirants who only want government jobs are going to face disappointment because the governments cannot keep expanding and PSUs cannot keep coming up every 10 years, 15 years. That is just bloated government. That I don't think that this government is in any way not very clear about where they stand on that. They want the private ecosystem to do this, but is there enough in the private ecosystem that is being done? Ashpreet, I'm coming to you. Job creation, what is it that you're looking forward to from the budget?
Well, number one, doubling of farmers' income was promised by the Bharatiya Janata Party. It was supposed to be done by 2022. Instead of doubling the farmers' income, they have doubled up the suicides. Since 2013, more than 1 lakh suicides have been witnessed by the farmers. Number two, we expect that the MSP would be given as a legal guarantee. Number three, the farm loan waivers, a permanent commission ought to be set up, and we are demanding this because the Bharatiya Janata Party waived off loans of willful loan defaulters too. Vijay Mallya, Mehul Choksi, Narendra Modi, top 50 willful bank loan defaulters. Their loans have been waived off.
Were the loans waived off? Their money was recovered through their properties.
I'm sorry, no.
These are individuals who have been declared economic fugitives.
No. I'll tell you what. Around 60,000 crores were waived off of top 50 willful bank loan defaulters. And these three,
write-offs and waive-offs are different things.
I'm talking of waive-off, and I can show you the report.
As far as the likes of the Mallyas and the Choksis are concerned, they are economic offenders whose properties have been seized to recover their loan amounts due.
I'm not talking of write-offs. I'm talking of a waive-off. And number two, the Bharatiya Janata Party's government needs to be credited for, Mr. Modi instead should be credited for one thing. His attendance in the parliament has improved because back in the day in 2021, he had merely given 4 hours allegedly to the parliament. And this time it's comparatively better. We hope Mr. Modi would also start doing press conferences and would start addressing the issues of the people, would tell the farmers as to why have they not delivered the promises that were made to them. The Jumla Patra of 2014 consisted of MSP should be given. The Jumla Patra of the Bharatiya Party in 2019 also
You've
said the
mentioned
same thing.
the farm sector issues. I was asking you about job creation that obviously involves non-farm as well. And that is where you're coming to that. I'll give you 30 more seconds.
Yeah, see, the Bharatiya Janata Party had promised 2 crore jobs in a year. It's been 10 years since they formed government. And the Bharatiya Janata Party should tell us where are 20 crore jobs. Instead of delivering these many jobs, they have snatched away jobs because the BJP's misgovernance.
Yeah, so I asked you, what is it that you would like the finance minister to present on the job front? But I'm out of time now, Ashpreet, unfortunately. I have to give a minute or so to Gopalji to respond as well. Gopalji, first of all, I think, it would be nice to accept there is a problem, only then can we have a fruitful discussion. The response from the government usually is that there is no problem on the job front. Is it time for the government to concede that there are certain realities it's been kind of shoving under the carpet?
So, Shivani ji, we have to understand that we have never shied away from the challenges that the economy faces. If we are talking about job creation or employment generation or skill development, capacity building, providing infrastructure spent through capex from the PSUs or government spending to create demand and come for PLI scheme for manufacturing, etc. This is for creation of job. So we have never denied that the employment generation is a challenge for the country and the economy. Whenever we talk about employment generation or number of employment generation, it is just to tell what we are doing for that meeting that challenges. Agriculture sector, we have never denied that agriculture sector has many challenges. Therefore, we came out with 4 important agriculture bills, land reform bills. It is the opposition which in their overzeal to politicize the issues have created false narration about agriculture reforms that we wanted to take, land reforms, they completely sabotaged it. Then there are different schemes that they want to sabotage it. We have never shied away that agriculture needs big reforms. We have never shied away from
So
labor
this budget, the focus will again be, yes.
So even if you go today economic survey, it clearly mentions about certain challenges that the economy faces, global challenges, domestic challenges. So we have never denied, but we have said that we have achieved over last 10 years where macroeconomic parameters are quite healthy. If we are coming with more than 7 to 8% GDP growth rate, that has to be accepted. If our Niti Aayog is creating a report giving data about 12.5 crore job creation, this month's 19.5 lakh informal sector came to the formal sector to Provident Fund and ESI registration. So these data say that the government is well versed about the challenges. We take cognizance of them and working on them. But the way is to grow the economy. It is not just we start crying on these things and do nothing. We are doing and growing economy, making the economic strength of the country, manufacturing sector, infrastructure sector, startup ecosystem, defense sector. I can go on list how much defense sector, which was dependent 90% of import, has now feeding domestically 68% of the...
Okay, no, fair enough. Like I said, one, the nuance in the job question is the quality of the jobs on offer. Secondly, the wish list of the public being of a certain kind of a job, while the government insisting that there are so many other kinds of jobs available in the market. Not the ones that were in vogue, let's say 20 years ago. I've got a minute left. I want to give Sachin and Abhishek both 30 seconds. Abhishek, on the question of private sector spending. This is a question that has been talked about for the last 5 years at least. What is the problem here? Do you see this changing anytime soon? Very quickly, sir.
The way it has been done or it has been going on, no change is expected because the ecosystem and the environment needs to be changed for any drastic update. It will continue like this only.
By ecosystem, you need what? You mean what?
See, the way the laws are there, the way the environment is in India, it will continue. Nothing is going to change. See, when you talk about the private sector investment.
So he did Abhishek ji at one point of time.
Gopal,
5 seconds. At one point of time, Abhishek ji, you are saying that we don't need data. We need data for stability. All the macroeconomic parameters are so healthy, and then you are denying them. It is not only domestic institutions giving this data. International institutions are accepting the growth rate.
Okay, so, let him respond. Let him respond.
Gopalji, the problem with the BJP particularly is that their schemes are very good on papers. The execution is not as good as the schemes are. The best scheme is startup scheme. A great scheme was Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, where technically people should have been skilled, but the end result
is not sufficient.
Not as
okay.
Good as
all right. I've got limited time, so can I just give Sachin 30 seconds on the private expenditure issue? Why is the private sector seemingly still hesitant that even the economic survey is talking about?
It's because of the very recent recession that we are facing from US and there is market slowdown. I think that could be one of the reasons. But going forward, there is a huge commitment from the private sector side, and I think the government has to hold hands with these private sector. They have to build certain PPP programs wherein the government actually go ahead and make certain investment, because it is important to understand that certain deep tech, sectors like aerospace, like urban mobility, uh, a private sector would not like to immediately get their hands, dirty into this. So the government has to take the first step. They have to make initial investments to ensure that there is risk covered for these people. Once there is a program like this, then I believe, private equity investors, they will definitely come into the picture and make an investment and create jobs.
What the economic survey is also reminding us, or what we sometimes forget in the political din, is that the Indian economy is not just the central budget. So many things that matter to us are also part of state economies. And somehow state economies escape most of the questions or the burdens that come with the expectations of so many other things related to economy around budget time. So we've got to kind of have a more wholesome view on this. I do thank our guests for joining us for our first debate. Coming up on the other side is the pure political debate on the Narendra Modi-led Sarkar lifting decades-old ban on RSS affiliation of officers in government. Was the ban wrong to begin with? We'll take that question on the other side.
Time where Trump has taken a dig at Kamala Harris. Well, Akanksha continues to stay with us on the broadcast. Akanksha, Trump is not wasting any time at all to take a dig at Biden's endorsed successor. How do we see this in the run-up for the November elections now?
It's going to be a very risky terrain now, because, as I said, that this race certainly got more interesting after Joe Biden, who was being questioned for his mental acuity, decided to step down. So far, that assassination bid against Donald Trump, at the same time, that speech, which was almost seen as his resurrection point at the recently concluded RNC, had almost created a messiah figure out of Donald Trump, especially for the Republican voter base. Remember, because of Joe Biden's own ability and that disastrous performance at the last debate that we've all witnessed, there were a lot of questions about Joe Biden's own capability, turning their own Democrat supporter base as fence sitters. Many Democrats were in fact turning skeptics. They would have perhaps either voted for the grand old party, given the US economy and the rising inflation, the rising cost of living in mind, or they would have perhaps chosen not to vote for either the Democrats or the GOP. But now with Kamala Harris entering this race, you do expect those fence sitters now to have more clarity. Remember, Kamala Harris is known to be somebody who's been a force behind Joe Biden, somebody who was also orchestrating those policies given Joe Biden's health and his age. So Kamala Harris is also viewed as somebody not just who, if voted to power, will become the United States First Lady President or the first First Lady President of South Asian descent, but also somebody who is seen as a very bright pick, and that perhaps also justifies why Donald Trump is also feeling threatened, because here's somebody who could be legit competition for the Republican candidate.
Right, Akanksha, I'll request you to stay with us on the broadcast, as clearly Joe Biden dropping out from the US presidential elections has stirred a lot of controversy and is getting a lot of reactions from the ground. But now we're tracking some updates. Again, former US President Barack Obama has now praised Joe Biden for deciding to drop out of this 2024 presidential race, stating that Biden has been one of America's most consequential presidents. He is a patriot of the highest order. These are the latest inputs that we are tracking, and Akanksha continues to stay with us on the broadcast. Akanksha, a word coming in from the former President Barack Obama praising Joe Biden for deciding to drop out of the 2024 presidential race. How are we perceiving this in the larger political arena?
It's a very interesting tweet congratulating Joe Biden, because several analysts and foreign affairs experts have spoken about the rifts between this relationship. Do remember that Joe Biden and Barack Obama have been a very strong partnership when Barack Obama Obama was in power as the president of the United States. And they were known to have, Joe Biden was somebody who was a strong pillar of support. He was, in fact, their own partnership was one that was a force to reckon with. But over the years, we've seen this partnership also break down. So many were in fact talking about how Joe Biden had taken offense to the fact that there was no support coming in from a Barack Obama when Joe Biden did choose to fight the 2024 presidential election. In fact, there are reports indicating that it was back in the year 2016's presidential race that Barack Obama had not adequately encouraged Joe Biden. He had, in fact, he had discouraged Joe Biden to fight the presidential race of 2016, which is one of the reasons that Joe Biden, attributes for him deciding not to run, and which is the reason why he chose to, in fact, run in 2019. But having said that, many were talking about how there were rifts in this relationship because Barack Obama, when it came to Joe Biden, was not openly seen endorsing his presidential race. But the fact that he's now welcomed Joe Biden's decision to step down, saying that the decision to step down also shows what a sincere patriot Joe.
Welcome back. Nearly 60 years ago, then Congress government had imposed a ban on government employees attending RSS activities or events. But today, the Modi government has lifted that ban. The latest decision overturning the 1966 Indira government order has stirred a political debate. Congress has naturally hit out, questioning how bureaucracy needs to be above political ideology. But BJP has hailed it, calling it injustice to begin with. But why was the ban on RSS implemented in the first place? So Rule 5 Clause 1 of the Central Service Rules 1963 prohibits government employees in taking part in political organizations or any related activities. The Ministry of Home Affairs in 1966 looked at RSS as being a political organization and thus banned government employees from taking part in RSS activities. The same was reiterated in 1970 and 1980. But contrary to government's perception, RSS has always maintained that it's a social organization, not a political organization. The BJP, on the other hand, also says that the ban on RSS was initially implemented in response to the massive anti-cow slaughter protest that Indira government was facing at the time. So they're pointing out to this chronology. On 7th November 1966, Gaurakshak, sadhus, religious leaders marched towards Parliament demanding a law banning cow slaughter across the country. This agitation to the Parliament was led by Bharatiya Janasangh MP from Karnal, Swami Ramesh. Owing to massive backlash over this, Indira Gandhi was even forced to sack her Home Minister Guzarilal Nanda, who was then replaced by Yashwantrao Chavan. The BJP claims it is this agitation that led her government to ban the RSS affiliation on November 30, 1966. So basically in the same month as that movement was kick-started. So was this ban wrong to begin with? And in that sense then, is it a wrong that is being righted now? That debate is coming up.
%70% से लोग ज़्यादा अभी भी उनके विरोध में, तो उस विचारधारा को सरकारी कर्मचारियों के अंदर गढ़ना, तो मैं समझता हूँ ये बहुत ही दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण।
इस फैसले से बात जाहिर होती है कि ये जो एनडीए के अलाइज हैं, ये लोग क्या कहेंगे इस बारे में भी, क्या वो इसको मानते हैं?
पहले ईडी, सीबीआई, इनकम टैक्स, इलेक्शन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया सब खाकी का काम कर रहे थे, खाकी शॉर्ट्स पहनकर काम कर रहे थे, पर डिक्लेयर नहीं कर पा रहे थे। अब खुलेआम डिक्लेयर कर पाएंगे।
ये बहुत ही खराब है, खतरनाक है।
कांग्रेस पार्टी का रवैया जो राष्ट्रवादी और देशभक्ति के खिलाफ रहा है,
This entire debate seems to be hinging on the question on whether RSS is a political organization or not. Let's go across to our guests joining us. RP Singh, national spokesperson of the BJP, Bhavya Nasarmamurthy from the Congress Party, Professor Sangeet Ragi, political analyst, leans towards the RSS, and Tariq Khan, spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, also joining us. Professor Sangeet Ragi, I want to begin with you. Why is it not fair to say that RSS is a political organization, given that it is the fountainhead of the political movement of the Jan Sangh and the BJP?
RSS is a registered organization under the same Act of 1860, and it is not involved in any kind of political activities. It is a cultural organization. It is a socio-cultural organization which is working in 44,000 tribal villages of this country. It is the organization which different wings or ancillary organizations are working in the Dalit Bastis. It's an organization which is working among the academicians, among the trade union bodies of this country. So directly, particularly, these are the ancillary organizations. But RSS per se is not the organization which is acting in political domain. It keeps a distance from the political activities. Even in this election, you must have seen that the RSS goes out from door to door and it campaigns that you please participate in the election. You vote for the good candidate which is good for the nation. You participate on the larger scale. But the ban on the RSS members to participate in the activities was entirely political. And what is political and who is not too political is to be defined by the government of the day. And that the government of the day had decided that the RSS, and it had a misplaced understanding of the RSS activities, which is limited to the Sakha, where you can go anytime, you can find out what happens. There is a saffron flag. People salute that saffron flag because the saffron flag reflects the civilization of this country, the culture of this country. Okay. And therefore, and then they talk about the nation, they talk about nation building, how to work among Dalit, how to work among different parts of the society, and how to build this nation. It cannot be compared with the Jamaat-e-Islami, which supports terrorism and pan-Islamism in this country. So please don't compare this organization with the rest of the other organizations.
Okay. So you're saying it's a socio-cultural organization. Tariq Khan, if you take that definition, then there are many, many parts or participants of our socio-cultural being that also have political views or also have political leanings. And you can find that across the political spectrum. So RSS has its own leanings and thinking. And then there are others as well, on the other side, even opposed to the RSS, who also have political leanings. They also announce full support during elections, etc. So why is that okay, while only the RSS was vilified, as if it's some organization that just you cannot even have an association with it if you want to be in the government? Don't you think it was wrong and a singling out of the RSS to begin with?
We have seen a continuous shift of the leaders from RSS to BJP. There has been lots of examples. If you want, I'll give you as well. Okay. Then another problem is this, that Sangathan Mantri of BJP is also provided by the RSS. So ideologically, they support RSS and nobody will disagree on this panel that RSS is another part of BJP who do not involve directly in politics. This is the simple definition of RSS. What they have done, they had been banned 3 times. That is not a matter of discussion today. So, if a government officials who will be supposed to be directly attached with BJP, indirectly attaching with RSS, that means they have close correlation. RSS and BJP have close correlation. So that officers may be got biased when taking decision or dealing with public. So if I'm saying this, who will say? You will say that what I'm saying is not a correct thing, is a wrong demand. Why a political ideologically, which has a ideologically politically influenced ideology, and the officers, workers, they'll go there and they will influence. They'll got influence. Suppose the general public will come to that officer or employee. I'm not saying that employee or official must got biased, but there is a chance. So why to create?
I get your point. I get your point. So I'll take that to the BJP representative. But the question I'm also trying to understand is that RSS is not the only such organization which has a political ideology. There are many organizations in India that have quote unquote a political ideology or an idea of India as it's called by some. Now those organizations can have their members in government. Those affiliations are not questioned. So is it fair to only question the RSS?
Can I have any example of what you're saying? You just said. Miss, give me one example.
There are so many think tanks, for example.
I just want to know which organization have direct involvement in government. Exactly, RSS have people who directly involved in RSS.
Sir, government and party are two different things. Now you're confusing yourself.
No.
If your claim is that RSS has direct involvement in government, I'll take that to the BJP representative. Then that's an argument you're making. RSS has an affiliation with a political party. Many organizations, think tanks, etc., who also have a political leaning, have,
Name them. I just want to name them.
What should I name them? Because
name one, na.
For example, there is a CCP MOU with the Congress party itself.
Okay.
I mean, that's not even an Indian organization or a political party.
Go ahead.
And it's a communist thinking.
Tell me.
So it has a certain communist. For example, now let me finish. Tariq Khan. So if there are many left-leaning communist think tanks that have had not just links with certain political parties, they've been in government bodies. But those links have never been questioned. So if we are afraid of political leanings seeping into government action or government body actions, then is it not fair to question all political lineages?
I cannot have any type of direct correlation which is evident between BJP and RSS. You cannot give any other examples of any association with the organization and the political parties, or during their government they have those type of correlation.
Okay, so no other parallel exists is what you're saying.
There is no parallel example.
RP Singh, please respond to that. Sangeet Ragi can also come in if I have enough time, and then I'll go to Bhavya as well. There is no other similar example in Indian polity where an organization like the RSS is also so closely linked to a political party.
First, let me make it clear. I mean, this whole premise is wrong, Shivani, that RSS backs BJP or RSS supports BJP, or there are people who are only RSS workers who can be part of BJP. Today, there are many people who are not part of BJP and, RSS, but still at the key position in BJP also. So this is a wrong notion. Because of the nationalist idea, because of the national ideology, the ideology meets somewhere, and that's why the people in RSS support certain ideology. And if BJP follows that ideology, obviously, at certain level, they will support that ideology also, that organization also. Sangeet Ragi rightly said, even in this election, I have seen RSS would have conducted some more than 20,000 meetings in city. But in not a single meeting, they spoke about supporting BJP. They asked people to vote for nationalist idea one and to must go and vote. That was the ground. I mean, that was the basic issue, the concern for the RSS. People must go and vote. So where is it promoting BJP? One. Secondly, this whole of the affair that RSS was banned and RSS is not a nationalist organization. I mean, I'll appreciate. I mean, Tariq Khan Sahib, there are people from Muslim community also who are welcome to RSS. There are people from Sikh community also who are welcome to RSS, and you can come and participate in one of the shakhas or one of the our programs, and then you can understand what is the difference between the RSS and what is your mindset. I mean, what you are made up of. That
Okay.
RSS
No,
is.
RP
So
Singh,
there's
we
a
are
two
not
different
discussing
things.
whether it's a national. RP Singh, we are not discussing whether it's a nationalist organization or not. This is a public service rule. The rule bars political organization affiliation. So the only touchstone here is whether it's a political organization or not.
No, it does not. I said RSS has nothing to do with BJP as a political
That's
party.
also not true, na? RP Singh, come on. That's also not true that it has nothing to do with the BJP.
Come on, give me a second. If I hail from a commune, which is, let me give a name. For example, I hail from Osho as a commune. I don't, but I'm part of BJP also. It doesn't mean that Osho is supporting, or there are people from Osho community or people from other cults in country who support BJP. It doesn't mean that they are part of BJP, or the people who are part of the cult are part of BJP. No, as a human being, I have different level of working in a day. I work for a community in my area. I work for political party in my party, and I work for my religious organizations in the evening. I get go to Gurdwara and work there. So it doesn't mean that. So don't mix up two. Don't mix up all of them together.
Bhavya, she's
RSS
been waiting. Let me just get her in as well. Bhavya, the other problem is that it's not as if, RSS, some unique view was taken of all the organizations that participate in Indian politics, and it was decided that, okay, these are political organizations and others are not. The reality is that the Congress post-independence has had a difficult relationship with the RSS because it has seen RSS ideologically its greatest opponent. So whether it's Jawaharlal Nehru or Indira Gandhi, there have been several attempts, or Rahul Gandhi today, there have been several attempts to demonize and, demonize RSS and also keep it away by mocking it as khaki wearing or sangi or knickers and whatnot. All of that comes from a language of political apartheid. Since the Congress is so worried about apartheid-like conditions in India, it is guilty of creating apartheid-like situation politically for the RSS by demonizing it for 60 years.
So tell me, which other organization was not ready to hoist our national flag till recently after our freedoms, after we got our independence?
Was that why you banned it?
No, let me finish.
No,
Which was the organization
stick
who
to
was
the reasoning of the officials link. I'm not here asking for a certificate on the RSS.
No, I really need to make these points.
Okay,
People
go
need
ahead.
to understand why RSS was banned in the first place. What kind of anti-India, stance they took, whether it was when it came to our constitution or our national flag in the past. In 1947.
Never.
Those are not the bans we are discussing.
Our national flag was adopted. And RSS was against
it was banned
the
because
national
of
flag in their
not giving the
headquarters.
Constitution of India, not hoisting the national flag,
assassination
so wrongly quoting. And RSS has always hoisted national flag. How many times have you been to RSS Shakha?
I did not interrupt when you spoke. So
Okay, let her finish, please. Bhavya and I.
No, you are misquoted. You are misquoted.
Okay, Bhavya, can I just come in? Bhavya, can I just come in? Can I just come in? 1 second. I am asking about the officers' link to RSS, right? I'm not asking about whether you like the RSS or not. The officers' link to RSS, 1 second, ma'am, the officers' link to RSS ban was instituted because it was deemed a political organization. So why is it that only RSS is demonized as one that you cannot be affiliated to, not scores of other organizations that also play a political part in India?
Exactly what I was trying to answer. Show me other organization who were against our national flag and did not hoist the flag in their headquarters till recently. One, let me please finish. There is more. The first ban on RSS was after there, a link was found between them and the assassination of Mr. Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi. This was by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, whom they are trying to appropriate, although he was a Congress
Bhavya, we are
leader.
not discussing the bans on the organization. We are discussing the affiliation of government officers ban. We are not discussing RSS ban.
I'm coming to that point.
Please come to that point. I don't have that much time.
I'm coming to that point. You know the recent UPSC controversies and the allegations about the Pooja Khedkar IAS, the controversies surrounding UPSC, one of the most prestigious institutions, which was not really known for the controversies. Manoj Soni was appointed the chairperson, who has link with RSS, and in 2022 April, Rahul Gandhi had tweeted against it and the problems that is going to come.
Pooja Khedkar's case is from before. Unfortunately, I'm not really sure I'm getting the answer to the question I'm asking. I've run out of time. I do thank all of our guests for joining us. This is a debate that still needs to be had, whether it's a political organization or not, and if there are more such organizations that then need to be looked at. Thanks a lot for watching.
It speaks volumes for how, in fact, Joe Biden is also being honored for this decision. We've seen the likes of seniors like a Nancy Pelosi, even a Barack Obama talk about it. But perhaps also an indication that the former US president was not really behind Joe Biden's decision to contest this race.
Right, Akanksha, thank you so much for bringing in all those details. We'll continue to track the story as the day progresses and we get more reactions on this. But this twist in race for White House after Biden steps down is really something to keep an eye on. But CNN News 18's Alistair D'Souza gets us more details on Biden's decision of dropping out and what it means for the Democrats. Let's listen in.
Joe Biden has ended his bid for a second term in the White House. In a statement, he said, "While it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down." Then came the official endorsement for Kamala Harris to step into his shoes. Biden has given Harris his full support. He said, "Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this." But Kamala Harris's path is not a done deal. Biden's endorsement does not automatically mean Harris has the job. Over the next coming days, Harris could well be challenged by members of the Democratic Party who feel the job should really be theirs. The reason, it is not the same process where if the US president steps aside, his vice president is next in line. This is a completely different scenario. No one becomes the official presidential nominee of a party until delegates vote. And here's the catch. Delegates are free to vote for any candidate they like. So what happens next? Firstly, a virtual roll call vote, which was slated for the first week of August to formally nominate Biden, could be cancelled. It might be too early for Kamala Harris to muster the support she needs for this vote, but there is no avoiding what comes next. The Democratic National Convention, which starts August 19th. Usually, these conventions are merely a formality.
Well, we are continuing to track some updates from the United States of America. This is another breaking input where Vice President Kamala Harris has now said that she was honored to receive President Biden's endorsement and intends to earn and win the nomination. So these are the latest inputs that we are tracking at this point of time, especially after President Joe Biden dropping out from the presidential race. Vice President Kamala Harris has said that she was honored to receive President Biden's endorsement and intends to earn and win the nomination. Well, Akanksha continues to stay with us on the broadcast. Akanksha, how does Kamala Harris plan to leverage this support, especially favoring the Democrats at this point of time? After yeah, go ahead.
You know, you've already talked about how she's in fact honored. The fact is that we've seen that tweet come out from Joe Biden yesterday where he has in fact extended all his support behind the vice president at the moment. And having said that, the only possible, there are multiple scenarios as we were telling you that they may conduct various forums, sanctioned forums across the country where you may have somebody also moderating those events. events. But the fact is that, you have had delegates who have been pledging their support behind Joe Biden. So in most likely the scenario, considering we've seen the US president sort of extend his support, sort of also cushion Kamala Harris's current standing, you may have that set of delegates who have in fact been supporting Joe Biden also extend their support behind Kamala Harris. Or you may in fact also have the Democrat National Convention, which the DNC will be taking place in mid of August. You may have a voting that may take place over there. And it's very crucial right now for Joe Biden to also endorse a candidate, because that will sort of perhaps give more clarity to the rest of the party who to in fact rally for. But having said that, many would in fact within the Democrats be talking about how they would not want somebody anointed just yet. They would want a more democratic process to perhaps shape up. But will that mean that Kamala Harris is...
This is CNN News 18 and Federal Bank Primetime Studio.
The hard facts from CNN News 18, Federal Bank Primetime Studios. Viewers, it's a big story. The Modi government has finally revoked, 10 years too late in my humble opinion, a decree passed by the Congress in 1966 that prevented government servants from interacting with the RSS. The decree was issued by former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's government after the Jan Sangh, which is a forerunner to the present-day BJP, led a major anti-cow slaughter campaign against the government of Indira Gandhi. It was a massive protest, and Indira Gandhi reacted by issuing this decree. Now, the lifting of this ban allows once again government employees, bureaucrats essentially, to participate in RSS activities. The ban